Then Miss Alberta Ankra. And Mr. Kumi, you are sitting in for Alberta Ankra. You follow. Yeah. And then Mr. William Ayariga. Yes, sometimes you must pay homage quickly. Thank you. He knows those he's been working with. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be insightful based on what you do. We have Miss Abna Dufie-Konuata. Can you tell us exactly what you do? Why are you here?
Okay, so good morning to you all. Still standing on existing protocols. I'm Abna Dufie-Konuata with the Department of Social Welfare. Basically, our main mandate as the department is to take the lead in integrating the vulnerable, the disadvantaged, the marginalized in society into mainstream society. So we are here just by the main conference and with a theme to help address and eradicate modern slavery in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then let me go to Miss Abna Obiasari. You are warmly welcome. Yes, head of the Human Trafficking Secretariat. What do you do? We are keeping it snappy.
Okay. I think I always say it's a calling. So it's a call to duty, to serve, to protect the vulnerable, and to serve the world, make a change. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making it so short for us. And Mr. William Ayariga, you've been out on the field. I want to know exactly what you do as the head of the anti-trafficking unit of the Ghana Police Service.
Thank you. Good morning, distinguished guests. Let me stand on existing protocol, all protocol duly observed. The Ghana Police Service, by the Constitution, is mandated to fight all crime, including human trafficking. And what we do is that we arrest, we investigate. If there are evidence, we put perpetrators before court to ensure that they are punished for their crimes. We also deal or collaborate with other international or internal agencies to share ideas, intelligence, to enable us conduct our job effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we have also standing in Mr. Frank Kweku Kumi, who is the Superintendent of Immigration. Immigration and Trafficking. Please tell us the link and what you do.
Good morning to all. Immigration as mandated is to control, regulate, and monitor foreigners and even Ghanaians within and across Ghana. With human trafficking as a unit or as a section that I belong to, we also deal more with cross-border trafficking and also smuggling as well. That's why the unit has the anti-human smuggling and trafficking in persons unit as the unit. So for trafficking, we also investigate, arrest, investigate, rescue, and also punish perpetrators. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for also agreeing to sit in, because we know you are capable enough to represent the one who should have been in. Well, over the years, we've come to appreciate that tackling the menace of human trafficking effectively. But what's the role of the various ministries and also the agencies, and how are they collaborating? We also ask, what are the capacities and how are they drawing on the synergies, even as we find ourselves here? Also, 20 years after the passage of Ghana's Human Trafficking Act, what are the highs and lows and gaps we should be working on? And what is the nature of collaboration with civil society? We find a lot of them around here. These are some of the issues we are exploring as much as our time will permit. So let me come first. When we talk about government, we have the higher government level that is looking at it all. Abna Obiasari, well, as the head of the Anti-Human Trafficking Secretariat, sometimes we call it human trafficking, but we know we are working against it, so I'm adding the anti. What exactly have you been doing in terms of collaboration and working with the agencies?
Thank you very much. I think the Ministry of Gender's role is to ensure that we coordinate all activities of anti-human trafficking unit. We are the only unit that is permitted to be called the Human Trafficking Secretariat, but we do not traffic. We ensure that it does not happen based on the law. I think we have a fundamental approach we use, which is the global approach from the Palermo Protocol: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. I wouldn't want to delve more because almost all the earlier speakers have mentioned a lot. But in terms of course, prevention, as goes by the name, for partners to meet around the table and think through what can be done, how to prevent the crime from happening. And it's a state obligation, which that mandate is given to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And based on that, the law, which was passed in 2005, and I'm glad to announce that it's 20 years now. And so as a country, we've started a series of events and activities for us to be able to know how we're going to strengthen policy. And so for our job, it's just policy. We sit around, discussions come, we look at what free data, and then we take action in faith, believing that it will happen. In terms of protection, which is, I think, one of the P I would like to emphasize on, because when it comes to most of the work, it falls much more on government. It's protecting the victims. And so before they become survivors, they must have a journey for them to become survivors. And so it ranges from shelter. We're actually discussing with Ayarga how hot he is, because yesterday we had some rescues in the country, and the figures that we saw, yes, comes with real life stories, narratives, and people. And so they need maximum support and services as much as they can. Of course, prosecution, like the Americans would say, the bad guys need to be in jail. But often it's not just jailing, it's about the understanding how these prosecution translate into action, where people get scared of engaging into the crime. And so it goes a long way through advocacy and everything. Partnership is key. We are all here to partner, from funding to resource mobilization to everyone coming on board to ensure that human trafficking ends. And so in brief, this is what the ministry stands for. This is what the human trafficking stands for, mainly for policy direction, for plans. We have a national plan of action that all of us follow. And so even within this work-free program, being organized by partners, it's not in vacuum, it's embedded in the plan of action for us to ensure that we are all on the same page trying to end trafficking. And what we also take is emerging issues that come up. We also ensure that we give policy actions to end that. So I'll leave it here for my colleagues to continue.
Thank you, because as you spoke, I saw you were veering into the area of Mr. Ayarga a lot with the mention of the prosecution. Mr. Ayarga, at least we've heard of the 4 Ps. And normally, sometimes we blame the relevant agencies for not taking up prosecution. And we say that is working against us so much. Do you believe there is that capacity to be able to undertake it so well so that nobody accuses you?
Thank you very much. My sister have talked about the 4 Ps. Let me talk about the prosecution. Ghana, we used to be on tier 2 watch list for some time due to the fact that under the US Department of Labor, we're being rated globally due to hard work, taking into consideration, awareness raising, capacity building for law enforcement officers, even introducing human trafficking as a subject at the police training school, both the basic and the police academy, where senior officers are commissioned. And the effort we have made has made Ghana to be moved from tier 2 watch list to tier 2 for the past 6 years. And that was a hard work. It wasn't achieved mere on the silver platter. When it comes to prosecution, for time's sake, this year alone, the Ghana Police Service, we have sent not less than 15 cases to court for prosecution. Successfully, 7 individuals have been convicted. And let me put it on record that for the first time since the promulgation of Human Trafficking Act, an individual was sentenced to 27.5 years, yet for human trafficking. And I must say, we are not resting on our oars. We can even do more better than what we do if we get the support from the NGOs, civil society, chiefs, opinion leaders, and everybody here, all stakeholders here. We can even do better than what we are doing because we want to declare zero tolerance for human trafficking in Ghana. Moving forward.
I can see because we are just coming from one of the assignments and you had to quickly join this panel. But Mr. Kumi, when we mention prosecution, not many are aware that prosecution is taking place. And sometimes even at immigration, when people try to stop them from traveling, it becomes an issue. Do you think it is lack of awareness or just that people think this is what we want to do, please allow us?
Thank you so much for your question. It looks like we are doing a lot when it comes to prosecution, but if you are doing a lot and you don't also let it come out, nobody will also hear. And in this area, we need to do more, even though we are doing more, like my brother said. We've also been doing a lot of prosecutions, and we have also, this year alone, have had 10 years and 5 years in different cases, even though we still have other cases in court that we are also pursuing. And in all this, we also, after the prosecution, media sometimes carry it, but they don't also carry it to the general public a lot. But what we have to also do now is to engage more so that the community in which we have these issues should be aware of it. So in this case, we do some awareness creation that we need to carry. Advocacy has to go more, and it has to get to the root of the communities. And in this case, also creating the opportunity to engage more with community leaders and as well people and as well the general public in the community, because there's awareness creation in the aspect of the prevention where we need to engage people for them to know their duties even when it comes to trafficking, because the law has section 3, section 4, section 5 has your duty to report as a citizen, and also how you have to refuse not to use person traffic. So in all this, whilst we also do prosecution, we have to let the issues go out. And in doing this, we don't have to do it alone, as one of the speakers says. When it comes to trafficking, it's a transnational organized crime. So when you are fighting it, you also have to fight it organizedly. That is why we need collaboration and partnership in fighting human trafficking. And in this case, we need to do more advocacy and also awareness creation. Thank you.
Before you go, have we engaged the media enough for them to know that people are being prosecuted and it's not just about rescue?
We haven't engaged the media enough. Even there was a time I was on a media station and somebody asked me, do immigration prosecute at all? And I said, yes, I have to give him catalog or a series of cases that we have done for him to know. So in this, there's one media station that during our prosecution, sometimes we let them know so that they follow it up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just following up on that community awareness because the media can create it. And let me come to Abner number 2 on the panel. Abner, you relate a social welfare to the people a lot. Have we really tapped into the community to create that level of awareness for them to know that, yes, this is happening and we are really implementing the Human Trafficking Act? We are talking about 2 decades. 20 years.
Okay, thank you very much. So with the Department of Social Welfare, now we are decentralized. So at the district level, we have the Department of Social Welfare and Community Development, who is to help with these implementation of these laws. And yes, I can say we are engaging the communities through a program that started in 2020 called the Integrated Social Services. So with support from UNICEF, we realized that for us to curb some of these protection issues, government or one sector cannot do it all. So then we need to work with all sectors. And so, for example, when it comes to issues relating to trafficking, child labor, forced labor, we recognize the efforts of all key stakeholders in the community. So we work with the traditional authorities, we work with the CSOs, the NGOs, the faith-based organizations, and they are to set community child protection actors, whereby their roles are being stated. We have a document that we call the Intersectorial Standard Operating Procedure for Child Protection and Family Welfare. So having in the community setting, they could have actors between 5 to 13, which involved all these key stakeholders so that they can tackle the root cause of issues in their various communities. So yes, there's a number of awareness that goes on. And for us, through the GACA campaign, GACA is Ghanaian Against Child, GACA is Ghanaian Against Child Abuse. So with the GACA drive, we have the Child Protection Toolkit application, where we just do not do the awareness, but we go into behavioral and social change. So then we speak to their conscience, and then we record these sensitizations done. And so I know in 210 districts, this drive and these approach with respect to the integrated social services are ongoing, and we are hoping to scale it up to all 261 MMDA. So then yes, there's a number of awareness creation, of which the Department of Social Welfare and Community Development do not do it alone, but they do it with other sectors.
Do you have the faith-based organizations actively participating in this awareness creation?
Yes. So even with the Department of Children, they have the National Child Protection Actors, and then I know the faith-based organizations are highly represented. And so we want that to transcend into the various communities. So based on the integrated social services that I mentioned about, there's supposed to be a work plan and then some trainings to be done. And it's mandatory for you to involve the faith-based organizations, of which we've witnessed some of them. So then it's going. But like I said, it is in 210 districts currently. So then I know with those districts, they are really adhering to that.
Abna number one, let me come to you. Since you lead within the ministry, and it's quite important we keep pushing from that ministerial level, we've identified that after 20 years, there may be gaps that should be looked at in terms of capacity and then working together and all. We've been stressing on this. From your standpoint, what have you observed, having worked in the system over the years?
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start with what prevents us from seeing the work. Then I'll talk about the capacity, because even within this room, this meeting talks about modern day slavery. If it is a US, you hear trafficking in persons. The UK, trafficking of persons. Each place, there are different names. And so sometimes it makes it look like you are still stagnant because different conceptual frameworks. Modern day slavery encompasses a lot. For Ghana, there are different sections and compartments in handling them, all embedded in the law. When you go to child labor, we have different laws. Child abuse, different department agencies. And so sometimes it makes it look like it's a separate entity. However, it's the same. And so the conceptualizing the whole idea of what we are even tackling and dealing with draws back to the capacity that needs to be built. And so if we, and I remember telling Workfree that, oh, in Ghana, we prefer human trafficking. And it's like, okay, we will do that. But then we're talking human trafficking. Another is mentioning modern day slavery, slavery-like practices. What are we really dealing with? And so in building capacities to let people know we are talking about the same thing. Whatever form of exploitation it is exploitation. And so for last year only, we built almost 1,700 law enforcement agencies capacity, including police, immigration, UOCO, stakeholders relating to law, the court, everywhere, to ensure that we have at least agents or desk officers that can deal with trafficking. I think it's very practical now. You don't need to bring cases anymore to the headquarters for it to be handled. The cases that Mr. Yarga mentioned in terms of prosecution, we are getting them now at the district. For the first time, Yoko have convictions. Immigration have had convictions. When you take the story from the past 5 years, it wasn't like that. Now we are getting convictions. And so it's a drive to build capacity. And it's not only the law enforcement officers, even actors. I'm glad to see the faith-based organizations because in Ghana we love church, we love religion. Unfortunately, there have been traffickers that have posed as pastors. They go and they bless the passport. Hallelujah, you are going to travel as the vision. And then they prophesy, onto it and how you are going to go. And so they believe. And so when the trafficker comes, the floor has been set already. The person just believes, my pastor have prophesied. And so if the trafficker has come, it means the prophecy has come true. I must travel. And there you go. They've been trafficked. They've been taken. And so then you go back and you look for this person. You will not find the person. We had similar cases too. That chiefs were deceived. They didn't know. They post people as good people that have made it. And so when they came to the community, they accepted them. They gave their children and they got trafficked. And so the capacity building often is not just we, the stakeholders, forefronting it. In fact, the individual that is receiving the information. Anywhere I go now, I talk about the phones in our hands. You may be a strict father, a strict mother, but your child is chatting with somebody you do not know. During the COVID time, people were in rooms and traffickers were exploiting them sexually. How? They were dancing in front of the phone. And so you had parents saying, my kid is so good, always in the room. Please, there is an addiction that you need to look out for. And so capacity building right from the schools, children, adults, anybody at all. If you have the information, you have power to protect yourself. The example that the doctor gave, immediately you get into this trafficking, before we will get to rescue you, it may be too late. People have died. Organ harvesting is real. And so we continue building capacity. We continue telling our story. Sometimes government telling your story is not easy because you are responsible for everything. And so no matter how good you are trying, your good is still not enough. We agree on that, to do more. But we need partnership from everyone. Everybody needs to be on board so that we can get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You saw how the faith-based organizations responded to what you were talking about because they know it is so real. And that is what even makes the police service going in sometimes have a challenge because you seem to be impeding some people's progress. You call it service, but at times you go in with force. How do you balance it so that the people will know that we are talking about trafficking? This is not in your best interest.
Thank you very much for the question. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Annan challenging high this year. We collaborated with you. We have rescued not less than 100 children from the Volta Lake, and this is not main achievement. Let me also congratulate IJM. They've supported us to bring some young ladies from Cambodia who were recruited and taken to Cambodia. We still have some of the girls there. We are liaising with them to ensure that they come. Not only these two institutions, or two different others, IOM and International Needs, Right to be Free. We have been partnering with you, and it is actually yielding a positive result. You earlier, before I come to my question, let me quickly support my brother when you asked about awareness raising. In fact, the Ghana Police Service, in support with the other relevant actors, we traveled to Ekumpuano in the central region, which is a source community. We went to Ho Mauli Secondary School. We're at the Eastern region. I've forgotten the name of the town, but I will come there just to raise awareness. We also traveled as far as to Techiman and Nkranza in the Bono East region, because people who travel through the desert to Libya trying to get to Europe, that is where most of the victims are from. We also traveled to Doma and Drobo in the Bono region. We went as far as to Kukum in the Bono Half region. For Kukum is where I was born and bred. We went to Kukum and Mem to raise awareness. This year alone, I've been to Joy FM, I've been to UTV, I've been to Atinka TV. Even tomorrow, God willing, I'll be with Peace FM to raise awareness when it's come to human trafficking and the menace of human trafficking. Last year, we were supported by Global Freedom Network with the support of Reverend Dr. Chumbuafu. We also went to the VIP lorry station. We engaged with drivers. We went as far as to State Transport Corporation. We met with all the drivers. These were all efforts we put in place to ensure that we educate the masses about the dangers of human trafficking, and also expose the method that they use in getting their victims. For instance, people use romance scam, people use travel abroad, people use footballing as a means, people use pilgrimages, people use tourism, and all kind of things, because criminals keep on changing their modus operandi. So we always have to be ahead of them so that to be able to apprehend them. When it comes to human trafficking, it's a crime against humanity. And it is a law that was passed by an act of parliament, law. The act is 694. So in order to balance, people think that when you take a child to go and stay with you, it is a human trafficking. No, there are distinctions. We have something we call child work, a work that is not injurious to the health of the child, work that will not impede the overall development of the child, and light work will not affect the child from going to school. These are the clear distinction. So if you engage a child with a job that will take the child away from school, engage a child that will, affect that child overall development, his health, then of course, you are engaging in something illegal. That is forced labor. And when you are arrested, the law will deal with you. So yes, there should be a clear distinction between what constitutes a child work or light work under supervision. There's some certain category of ages. When the child is up to 13 or 16, the law mandates that they should do light work. But if you go outside this and you are caught, irrespective of whether you are the biological father, you are the mother, the law will deal with you. In fact, there was about 2-3 years ago, a grandfather was arrested in a town in the central region called Asimfosu. He was offering his own grandson for sale for 10,000 Ghana cedis. When we got this information, we pretended as if we were interested in buying this child. And he brought him all the way from Asimfosu to Accra and offered the grandson to us. After taking this child, we gave him the money, he collected the money, boarded the vehicle. On his way back, we crossed him and we arrested him. I will speak now. He has been convicted. So irrespective whether you are the father, you are the mother, if you are found culpable for trafficking your own child, for trafficking your son, grandson, or whoever it is, the law will deal with you. So let me use this opportunity to advise the perpetrators out there that they can run, but they can't hide. Very soon, the long arm of the law will catch up with the perpetrators of human trafficking, migrant smuggling, child labor, and all other abuses of human trafficking. Thank you very much.
So it means you are stressing that issue of sustained action so that we will combat. There's been occasions, Mr. Kumi, where you'll be at the airport, and just recently I found one standing behind me, and I wasn't comfortable with how she was even responding to questions. The person has got a right to travel, and meanwhile you are there as immigration to also ask, how do you do the balancing act, and then the gaps we are talking about and how we address them?
Thank you so much for this question. I have worked at the airport, the section that is referred to as the fraud office some time ago. And normally the fraud office is the backroom office. And when these issues, some of these issues happen, they are referred for interrogation and we don't say interview and approval for them also to travel. And we devised a means, and it worked well for us when we were there. And it was a video of people who had gone and come, returnees. We normally will invite them based on their consent and record them in a video. So what we're using is that when you get there and there's this issue, when we realize that there are these issues around you, we play the video for you to watch. Normally it comes within a specific time, very short video. Some of them will watch. As they watch, we advise. Some of them watches and they refuse not to go. Others watch and they will say, we will go. Even though we are fit, our pastor has prayed for us, this person has giving us the opportunity to go, and they see flying as an opportunity, you get it. So they want to go. So when we come to that level, there's another screening point that we look at the personality and also screen you. And in some instances, we watch, when we look at you, we realize that you are just a vulnerable person going, we sometimes will refuse you based on one or two documentations for you to bring it next, for you to go. Most of the time, they don't get to bring it. So they are refused based on that. And in other instance, the person is an adult who has also gotten his visa, his travel ticket, and is traveling. You cannot just refuse somebody traveling on the basis of things that you don't have enough evidence of it. Other than that, when you are called upon to prove, you may not be able to prove. So we use some of these strategies to work it out, and it was working perfectly for us till we left there, and we had issues of people going and having these issues of others traveling with, coming out with some of the issues of being exploited in their destinations. But issues about traveling is a bit delicate when it comes to handling traveling, because when you also refuse somebody on the basis and you don't have the enough facts, it comes against you and you have to bear the cost, and you take it as a person, which is a bit difficult and it's expensive to travel. So when so we set out some of these things, we are able to monitor and control some this Gulf region travels, which is mostly the places that we normally have issues when it comes to abuse and exploitations. Thank you.
Once we've seen a collaboration between the government agencies, I guess as we talk, then we are trying to find solutions for them. Let me come to social welfare again. Abla, there is this issue that we normally want to tackle. That is the blurred lines between fosterage and then what becomes trafficking in the long run, where parents may not be aware or sometimes are aware by turning blind eye. As social welfare, you have the mandate in this area. What exactly are you doing?
Okay, thank you very much. So then, there's a number of education, but I think we need to do more when it comes to the area of care reform, but talking more on alternative care. So yes, sometimes when we identify some vulnerable groups, for some reason, they cannot live with their biological parents. So then they end up living with other people other than their biological parents. We term it as they being in an alternative care. And so understanding the concept of alternative care, I'm happy we have faith-based organizations here. Just by creation, you could see that ideally it's the mother and father who used to care for some children, for their own biological children. But for some reasons, sometimes it doesn't happen like that. And that's how come the word alternative comes. So there are children that goes into alternative care. So when we talk about foster care, it's the type of alternative care. And that one, it is the Department of Social Welfare that regulates it. So we have a number of documentations to that. We have the Foster Care Regulation, LI 2361. We also have the foster care standards, the foster care operational standards, and all of that. But when it comes to foster care, we just want children who probably would have been on the street to be cared and loved and nurtured by any of us. So we have some criteria that you need to meet.
You mean within the home environment?
Within the home environment, in a family setting. So then I think the department, we need to do more on that. We started with the advocacy and then more of the awareness creation. But when you go to the various districts, it is also mandated by them to also continue so that people can opt to become foster parents, whereby they care for these children temporarily, either, and then they are being given a license or a certificate to that. So it expires 3 years. Which one comes earlier? Either the child attains 18 years or they care for the child for 3 years maximum. But there are different types of fostering. Some people would want the short term or an emergency one. Maybe they can just care for 3 months and less. Yes. So there's a clear distinction between you trying to cause some form of exploitation or harm or neglect or an abuse to a child other than fostering. Because with the fostering, you are caring for them, you are nurturing them, you are providing them with their basic needs. And then we have records to that. And so as a department, we do also monitor them. So nobody can just say, I am fostering you, if it's not the Department of Social Welfare that is being regulating it, that has placed the child in your care. So we have a foster care placement committee in the various regions as well. So with the issue of foster care, if you want more information, you can visit any Department of Social Welfare office to even be one. And we are encouraging that as we are gathered here, a number of us would opt to be foster parents. It's not difficult at all. I always use the term that once we can feed ourselves and then we love one another, we can then opt to be a foster parent. And it even needs to start from our nuclear family system, whereby we encourage. In Ghana, most of our data is coming on child non-maintenance, whereby people complain or people walk up to the social welfare office saying that my husband is not caring or the father of the child is not caring for us. Issue of non-maintenance. So we advocate that fathers and mothers should play their role, their responsibilities by caring for their children. And when that happens, and it happens in the family settings, we believe that children will not be on the streets. And then also in the community, we should all be there for one another. And then as a bigger society and country as well, we need to care for one another. So then we also take these foster parents through training so that they can understand the issues of parenting and how to best care for children and nurture them in love. Because some of these children that will probably go into foster care are abandoned children or trafficked child or child that has been exploited and abused and was probably involved in some hazardous work or child labor. So we take our time to educate them and then build their capacity and prepare them for that.
That is fine. You know, the moment you got to this area, Abna Novia was nodding and smiling. I'll come to her for her response on this. But you know, we worked actively on the CRI, that is the Care Reform Initiative. We're trying to discourage homes a lot. And now people think when they want to do good, the establishment of a home is the best thing they can do. Where are we with it? How is the nature of monitoring? Are we still approving them?
Okay, so as a country, you know, you were the first to sign up to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. And then as Ghana, we realized that we are much more family oriented, you know, we love one another. So then we agreed as a department and as a ministry to have a maximum of 50 residential homes for children, or what people call as orphanages. And so we came up with a guideline called the de-institutionalization guideline. What that seeks is to de-emphasize the residential homes or the orphanage, because we realized based on research and what practice, I used to be the head of care reform, when we monitor and visit or inspect some residential homes, we see that you know, 0 to 3, it has a negative impact on these children. Some people, in terms of their growth, are stunted. Some people, in terms of their confidence, their IQ, we realize, because these are people being cared for by caregivers. So today she gets another job and then she quits. So then there was a need for us to look at reintegration and then trace families so that children with families, but the issue is as a result of poverty, shouldn't be the main reason why they end up in the residential homes. And so a number of activities has been done, and a lot of sensitization needs to happen, because what we've realized is that it starts from the faith-based. You could see a church, and once you see a church, based on the calling, they would think, oh, let us help the vulnerables in our society. Then they would think of creating a structure, and then the residential homes comes in. And then they also think they are doing their bit and they are calling. And so you see some even to the extent of not licensed, and so harvesting children to come and fill the place so that
you used the word I was trying to avoid.
they get a high number of children in there, and then people, the public would see, and then they would be able to give to them. So now we have a number of licensed residential homes and them that are doing well. So we have Challenging Heights that has been mentioned that we work with, and then they also help in the area of trafficking as well. So we have the licensed ones, and then we have the unlicensed ones. So we are advocating to people to look within. You know, giving should start, charity should be from the home. So let's look at our inside, our nuclear family, And then we move on to the extended family, and then to our community, and then we can also help. But we are not saying they shouldn't help the orphanage. They should. But when you want to help, you can write to the Department of Social Welfare so that we can give you the licensed homes or homes that we are regulating so that you can support. But we want people to then look more into the family-based care. An example is the informal one, like the kinship care. Look at how beautiful it is if probably your sister or a relative cannot care for their family and you are supporting them to care, other than a child being on the street or abandoned and then they end up in the residential home. So the department is mandated to regulate that as well.
I mean, I want to come to you. We've worked on the child and family welfare systems, and these are some of the issues that came up as we discourage the institutions or the homes, and yet we still have them. And on regular basis, we get people telling us, "Oh, I want to go and do good for this holiday. I'm going to donate to." When you raise eyes, you become a bad person.
Okay. So, first of all, where we sit, and I think we have a lot of experience and practice where some of these orphanages have actually turned into trafficking, baby selling, and other quote unquote hub for crime. And so, if you're not registered, you have no business in operating. That's one. Human beings are not for sale. And so anybody cannot walk in and just say, you have people walk in and say, okay, even now I don't want to foster, I want to adopt. I want a baby whose color is red like me or green like me with blue eyes, just 3 months old. Hello? How do you get that? And so somebody pretend they are running an orphanage where they hide under these things, steal other people's babies and sell them. And so, yes, it's good that we want to do good. There are so many licensed homes that we can do that. The idea of deinstitutionalization is for the fact that research have shown that people with families tend to be better. We are not saying those that do not have that luck and being in homes are not. Of course, we are providing that care and service. But if people are willing and ready, why not? It doesn't need to be your biological parent or something. And let me shift and come to some of these societal perceptions that has brought us to where we are. In all our preachings, in our dealings, men are providers of the home. And so it put pressure on men to migrate. And so in their attempt to migrate, whatever offer that comes, they are willing to take it. As a woman, you can't be barren. And so whatever offer that comes, I'm willing to buy a baby and dump the consequences because of society. As a woman, you are to marry at this stage. You should have that. You should have that. In some churches, oh my God, if you are not prospering the way the preaching will come, you will ensure you will prosper that day. In fact, whatever you have, you will sow it as a seed to make sure you prosper. And so people pick their business money and sow. And then the business collapse. I'm not preaching against sowing. I sow a lot. But I think we also need to preach some of these things. I know somebody who say, look, go when you invest, your tithe is enough for the church than to collapse and you cannot even pay the tithe. And so societal perception, societal norms also drive, because as a ministry and as a policy making, I cannot talk or finish my discussion, without addressing root causes of trafficking, slavery. In practice, we rescue people and they are not willing to come out of bondage. They are not willing to come out of the slavery because they cannot go home without making it. That is the term. I have to make it. Because I'm a man, I'm to provide for the family. There are others, they will not even come from their captors because they still want to stay there. Family have given them huge sums of money that they've sent out. They've migrated. How do I come back home without the money? I won't leave. And so men don't even accept, and I'm stressing on men because it's easy for the women trafficking for us to be, in fact, have sympathy on them. There are a whole lot of structures for women and children, but not for adult men, if I may say it frankly. Because we feel men are resilient, strong, they can't be trafficked. So the men themselves don't feel they've been trafficked. In most of these QNet cases, they themselves don't feel they've been trafficked. That is the reality. Because society have drummed it, so they don't want to look vulnerable.
They don't want to look victim. A victim is for that woman who is soft, innocent, but women are not innocent. In our prosecutions, the traffickers now are now women. The traffickers in Ghana, Nigeria, along the coast are now women. And so some of this drive, I'm saying this because this orphanages spring up, it's somebody's business, trafficking business. Another person who is in need will go for it. Sometimes also, please, our men of God, chiefs, the traffickers come to you and they befriend you. You are very innocent. But they use some of these pictures to tell how they are linked with high-profile people to keep their captors. And so you are very innocent. You don't know what is happening, but your name is being used by a trafficker because you are very influential in the society. We've had instances, they have pictures of our sheikhs and everything, and they drum religion, faith, such that these victims have so much faith in God that they can't even see their own exploitation till they die, till their organs are harvested. And so I don't know how we are going to have the new, as I call it, the new school and approach of advocacy. But we need to also deal with the societal norms that are driving our men to migrate, thinking that as they stay in this country, they can't make it. When you go to Bono and Hafo, if you have not migrated, nobody will marry you. You have to be a bugger. It is a societal norm that is there. It's only few people that go and succumb this norm. And so every man in that community wants to travel by hook or crook. The Libya deserted everywhere. They are willing to go through. They will tell you, yes, no, you're crying, yes, no, upon chekra. There's so much faith that Nipa 10 who are not going to and many women are in the church waiting for their children, and they've never returned because they've died on the Mediterranean Sea. Let's stop pushing our children, comparing our children to others. Your colleagues have made it. Why are you still here? Go and bring money. Women collecting mobile phones from their children without even asking where they are getting it from. These are driving traffickers to exploit this particular
I'm not
aspect
stopping
of
you,
society.
but I think it will be the next topic for the preaching. They are all here. It will be the next topic. But, you know, let me draw attention to one thing that has come up that some people were not aware. And Mr. Kumi, I can come to you. In terms of even the landlords being prosecuted, when the issues of trafficking come up, please throw some light on it. In terms of the landlords, people who do not know and yet become liable. If you can please use the, yeah.
Sorry. The anti-human trafficking law gives, in some sections, gives what to do and what not to do, what is required of every citizen when it comes to the space of the law. And you can't say you don't know about it. As we always say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But when it comes to trafficking, there's also a chain of offenses. And it has to do, for instance, even if you are a driver, there is the law section that talks about conveyance. If you are a driver and the trafficked person sits, the victim of trafficking, your vehicle was the vehicle that was used to transport the person. When there's prosecution, you are supposed to be prosecuted. When like my sister said, a chief, somebody comes to see a chief, or somebody comes to see a pastor or a religious leader and speak to you about it, and you offer the victim to the person to be trafficked. When during prosecution, you can be lumped in, and you also be prosecuted. There are various offenses related to these various offenses. There are various charges related to these various offenses. So I will urge you, Human Trafficking Act is there. Let us try to get it and read it so that we know, because in fighting crime, you have to know the offenders and also the victims, and as well the people, the police or the law enforcement agencies, how we have to operate within. So in doing this, you have to know the law and live within the law so that you don't fall foul within the law. And the best thing to do is that sometimes people are reluctant to consult, to learn, to consult. And it's very, very important. There are a lot of police stations around, district police offices, immigration police offices around you. Please, let us call upon them to know some of these issues. There are things that when you don't understand, you don't just take an action when you don't understand. Just seek support. Learning is done everywhere, and we can learn at any stage, anywhere. So let's consult officers or actors in the space of this modern day slavery or human trafficking space, so that we can live and do our best for the country.
Mr. Yariga,
and Mother
maybe
Ghana.
as I give you a minute before we give the opportunity to our audience to come in, that issue of prosecution of landlords, you know how sometimes even people from our neighboring countries are here and the highest bidder wins the house. In this case, what happens? The police is all around, but you hardly find them going around and saying, please, it is not just possible to give your rent out your place to just anyone at all.
Okay.
Not because you hate them and not being xenophobic.
Thank you very much for the question. Let me put it on records where I sit. Whether you are male, female, child, you can be trafficked. Somebody was trafficked by his own student, a teacher, to Nigeria. And let me also put it on record, about 3-4 years ago, Anti-Human Trafficking Unit, we prosecuted a lawyer and we convicted him for 5 years. Unprecedented, a lawyer was convicted. So irrespective of who you are, you can fall foul of the law. And when the law catch up with you, you'll be dealt with. Concerning landlords, yes, before giving your house or your premises to anybody, please do something we call due diligence. Who is this person I'm renting my house to? Don't forget, if these people, your tenants, end up committing crime, you can be charged for aiding and abetment of what? Of that crime. For instance, just yesterday, we went and rescued about 110 different nationals in one single room. Oh yes, just yesterday. It was on news all over. 110 of different nationals from Cote d'Ivoire, from Cameroon, DRC Congo, Guinea, Conakry, all over. And you know why? They were lured into the country under the pretext of sending them to other France, and they ended up forcing them into what we call internet fraudulent activity called KillNet. Even though, let me put it on record, that KillNet itself might not be illegal entity, but the unscrupulous people are using the name of KillNet, and they are trafficking people. As Ghanaians have been trafficked from here outside, others too have been trafficked. So if you are a landlord giving your room, how come one single room, about 110 occupants in that place? What are they doing? Are you monitoring them? Do you know what actually goes on in your room? So let me put it out clear that if you are a landlord or landlady, for that matter, because we have a lot of women owning properties, you rent your room or accommodation, whatever, to foreigners, and they use that premises in committing crime, you cannot exonerate yourself from liability. You are liable as well as those who are perpetrating the actual crime. So, landladies, landlords, be on the watch out. Don't look for the money the foreigners can give you. Because, for instance, a Ghanaian cannot give the money that, Nigerian or other nationalities can give. But if you follow the exorbitant rent allowances, you may end up getting yourself into trouble. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayariga. Yes, we are getting to the Q&A session. I want to start inviting Kafui to this place because he will be handling it. But as Kafui gets here, I just want to ask, we've all seen that you are all working as governmental agencies. Civil society organizations are there. Normally, during programs, we get them involved. But how do we share notes so that we are always on the common page so that nobody is dribbling Abna Nobia and then getting to Mr. Kumi and then going behind Ayariga because he knows, no, they are not sharing notes because everybody thinks I'm independent enough in what I'm doing.
I think you didn't mention my name, but I'll take this cap because I'm the coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, a number of the civil society agencies are here. I wish you would ask them in terms of collaboration, which is the 4 P's, approach, the last P, the pillar. You cannot coordinate without coordinating all the people that are working with you. And so for the dribbling time, that was in the past. I think now we really share a lot of notes. We collaborate a lot. We now have even the coalition of NGOs against child trafficking. We have also one within the West African region that at least we work together. I mean, anyone here, all the CSOs know it's a walk-in, it's a phone call. The informal approach is there, the formal ones also are there. That is the level we've gotten to where we can at least speak to anybody informally about issues, and then later we can formalize it. So with the coalitions and everything and the ministry coordinating, you are able to, people walk in and they want CSOs they want to deal with. It's our duty to give to them. And credible ones, let me add. Because if you do not report to the ministry, to the department, if we do not know what you are doing, for trafficking is an established law. You cannot rescue without law enforcement, the ministry being informed. So if you do not follow these protocols, that one we are coming after you as coming to punish you small, to let you know. But
in
then,
the best interest of
course,
everybody.
Of course, because we
Good.
need to follow standard operating procedures in this
Thank
work,
you so much,
so that we
Abner
do not
Nobia.
cause harm.
Kafui, I've seen about 1 million hands already.
All right. Okay, so before we go to the hands which are connected to the bodies that want to speak, let me first of all read some statements. These are statements from survivors who were asked by Challenging Heights about their expectations and recommendations from state agencies. So these are just 3 statements, and then we'll go into the questions and answers. So this is one of them. Quote, I believe that state agencies must work together to fight child trafficking. They should also provide educational programs for parents about the dangers of child trafficking and the consequences of re-trafficking. So that's statement 1. Statement 2, I believe that the Department of Social Welfare should intensify public education on the dangers of child trafficking so that parents and communities will understand the harm it causes. Many children have already lost their dreams because of this practice, and stronger awareness can help prevent others from going through the same experience, end quote. And the third statement, I often prayed for help, but I didn't know who to turn to, and I had no idea state agencies could intervene. If I had known about the police or rescue teams earlier, I would have escaped much sooner. Because of this lack of knowledge, I never expected help from the state. So those are some statements from survivors who were asked by Challenging Heights about their expectations and recommendations for state agencies. Is any panelists would like to respond to any of these statements? Any of you here?
I think that's normal. Let me say normal, not in normal, but most of the time, because of the fear that are placed in victims, they feel they can't escape, they can't report. But let's use this medium to tell everybody that we are here for you. Report, tell us your stories. We have social workers. If even you've passed through trafficking and it has passed, and you still want to share your story, we are here to listen. We are here to help you, have counselors or psychologists to help you go through your trauma and abuse. Often traffickers will tell victims that if you run to the police is our friend. They will release, the perpetrator and all that. It's not true. And so we are here, they should report. Report to anybody, not only police. You can even report to anyone you trust so that they can help you report to the law enforcement agencies. Immigration is there, wherever you are, you can speak to someone. If you think that someone is involved, bypass that someone and speak to another person. CSOs, NGOs, faith-based organizations, all the people gathered here are ready to hear from them. And so we are here for them. They are the reason we are in service anyway.
All righty, thank you very much. And we'll start with the question. Oh, you want? Yes,
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
And also the law, section 6, talks about duty to report. Duty to report. So if you are also, like, somebody reports to you and you don't go to the police to report, and it's known that the case was reported to you first and you didn't report to the appropriate law enforcement agency, when during prosecution, you can also be prosecuted. So take note of that.
I think it's all very clear. I think we'll start with the questions. I'll start with Mr. James Kofi Annan from Challenging Heights. Microphone to Mr. Annan. Here you go. Yeah.
I expected it. Okay, so I mean, you know it will come to you. If you look at all the conversation that we've had, we keep on referring to human trafficking. You emphasize that you use human trafficking. I believe that then leave a lot of people off the hook. For instance, forced marriage. If you look at it critically, it is modern slavery. I mean, it's a form of slavery. If you look at there's witch camps, definitely there are elements of modern slavery. So do you think it's about time for us to amend the law after 20 years? Or is it not time for us to look at amendment to the law? So that's one aspect of my question. The second aspect of my question is, you and I were in an international conference with ECOWAS, looking at ECOWAS human security. And in that conference, we made strong recommendations. And some of the recommendations, if you look at Section 8 of that document, was to the effect of human rights or due diligence in supply chains in businesses. Now, with that recommendation, it was said that once the nation adopts the framework, the national framework, we will then look at the processes of establishing a law that is looking at supply chains and in businesses. Fortunately for us, this year, the government has launched the National Plan of Action on due diligence in supply chains. What are we doing as far as the establishment of that law is concerned? So basically, these are my two questions. But to the social welfare, sometimes I don't even know how to address you, because I know the sufferings that you go through at the community level. It's not like all of you are not suffering. No. This year alone, my organization and Mr. Yaraga, we've gone to Nigeria 3 times between June and now. 3 times. We are not talking about January to June. So I know the kind of challenges that you face. Abena, I know that sometimes even chair becomes a problem. But when we are helping you to make the noise for government to give money, you feel that we are putting too much pressure, somewhere. But sometimes the money that we are asking for you. So I know all the constraints that you go through. But is it time for us to amend the law? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hands are up. Okay, we'll keep everything as snappy as possible. Microphones to the lady in the front here. Lady in the front. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Poshedu Mensah, and I'm with Dream Hunt. We have a document which is the community-driven strategy. And from that document, you realize that we are not doing enough in terms of connecting with festivals and also connecting with chiefs for them to understand the extent and the impact of this, using infographics to go into these villages to do video shows and all of that. And also translating these big words into local dialects for them to identify with it. When we wanted a girl child to go to school, it was all over the TV. Send your girl child to school. What is the jingle for helping this situation? I have a typical example whereby a family is raising 1 billion to take just one person from their family to America. So we need to do something about this. Once they are trafficked, they also have losses. So we need to see how we can help them. Thank you.
Looks like people are making lots of statements. Any other hand? There's a hand in the corner there. What? You want to respond? Where's the microphone? Okay, all right.
Okay, so good morning. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. My name is Gifty. I work at Right to Be Free. So my question is, so I used to be a TA in the University of Ghana. And then when you ask a random question, how many of you want to travel? It's like almost 80%, if not 90%. They phrase the answer. I want to find out the efforts government is making to educate these students coming from the university? Because all of them, they want to travel right after school. They want to travel. So that's my question. Thank you.
Can we get some responses from the panel? Okay. Yes, let's get some feedback.
Okay. I don't know, but let me take it from the last point, and I think it tied in very well with my societal perceptions and norms. Because, you see, we've made it look like no matter how rich you are, if you have not traveled outside, you've not reached. Your status, your privileges are still, So people really do businesses and they just want to go and take U-turn abroad and take pictures and put it on social media just to show that they've reached. Look at our own consumption, made in Ghana goods versus. It is our own advocacy around these things. Where I said people look at me and say, now to Ghana, why should I go out there to go and do what? Work at Walmart or where? And so it is our own perception. The dollar power, of course, the city power, yes. But again, it is your work, your hard work, and your own real world view, if I can say so. If you think you can only make it when you travel abroad, people have had opportunities and they still want to travel. And so like the raising of the 1 billion, if I come to you and I say, I want to open a business, borrow me 100,000, you won't give me. But if I say I want to travel, you go and sell everything and then come and give me the money. Why? Parents, why? Our parents, I'm asking, why? These are some of it. It is so embedded in the society. It is not really government. It is our mentality. And so we need to change our worldview about migration and see migration as what it has been from generation. Migration is not today. Nobody can control migration by saying that nobody will travel. Migration is a human right. It's your right to travel, but you must travel right. You must not be pressured. Somebody should not tell you that that is the only sure way for you to make it. And so for me, I think sometimes most of us, those days we even raised our hands, but today our worldview have changed and we are here. The other part of ECOWAS and supply chain, I think you bear with me that the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations are working on this particular document a lot, because we stand at a position where if we do not curb trafficking, child labor, the whole supply chain, if we find out that child labor is involved, you cannot export. And so Ministry of Employment and the Child Labor Unit, they are mandated and they are working on these things. Our job is also to deal with the trafficking part, the child abuse, child protection, and all the elements. And so, it's, of course, a collaboration, but they are taking the lead on this due diligence because of particular interest in the cocoa, and now mining areas too have come into it. So, James, I think when we see Esther, she can give you more details about where we've reached on that. However, as for the law, yes, our World Day Against Trafficking theme alone, we said that we want to really look at where we've come from, where we are going, and then do amendment. I think 20 years on, we need to sit down as a country and amend where we need to amend. The issues of the landlords, landladies have come up. The issue of killnets have come up. New forms of exploitation have come up. We've had other areas that we need to establish if truly these areas need at least to a level where the law needs to be amended. So yes, I agree with you 100%. Even the National Plan of Action is due this next year, 2026. And so all these things will be looked at. And I think for stakeholders, all of us need to sit around the table and then think through. I will leave my other colleagues to also respond to some of the issues.
Abner number 2.
Thank you. Can I say something small?
Oh, okay. You can come in.
Yes,
and we are doing the wrap-ups as we do this one.
Yes, let me take this opportunity. Somebody asked, what are we taking advantage of festivals? Let me take this opportunity to congratulate one Queen Mother, Ahima, from Gomoa, Mampong. In fact, this year, the Hobakesi celebration, he traveled to the National Police Headquarters, came and met with the Director General CID, and requested for a resource person for this year Hobakesi Festival. And my Director General nominated me. In fact, this year, they are celebrating about less than 3 weeks or 1 month ago. I was there, I met them, and I spoke about the menace of this human trafficking. So I'm taking this opportunity to appeal to other Queen Mothers, chiefs, and opinion leaders. Anytime you have a gathering, whether church, whether mosque, whether festival, don't hesitate. to invite us, and we'll surely come and talk to the public and educate them about human trafficking. What I want to see the law being amended. One, the Plea Bargaining Act 1079. I want human trafficking to be taken out of plea bargaining. Looking at the gross violation of the fundamental human rights of people, I don't want to see human trafficking crime being part of plea bargaining. That one, I have already registered my protest. I want it to be taken off.
Mr. Ayariga, I think we all agree with that one.
Thank you very
People
much.
said, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Kumi, your short wrap up.
So my wrap up is going to be, let me also talk about this landlord issue.
Yeah.
The Landlord Immigration Act, section 52, the offenses, it talks about people who give, landlords who give their houses to foreigners. And at least if a foreigner wants to rent your house, just look for his resident permit at least. However, if you don't do that and you rent it to the foreigner and there is any issue and the foreigner is caught up, you are also a culprit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then, Abna.
Okay, so thank you so much. So my last words is that just like the child and family welfare policy, all stakeholders gathered here, including government, we all have a role to play. Let's increase our collaboration mechanism. And then, yes, to even translate some of the things into our local dialects. In most derbys, festivals, you see the Department of Social Welfare present, whereby you see them even trying to act. And they use the school children. I've also seen a number of times that curious minds in most of our engagements try to speak to the general public. And I think with that, it really speaks to their conscience. So we should report any child protection issue. We should report and report. So we could always report on the helpline of hope under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We should only be aware of the high-risk cases and then the low-risk cases that one, the traditional authorities, faith-based, can even come in to mediate. But it starts with we being aware of these issues and then also reporting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know if we are given the time, we will continue because there is a lot more that we need to explore. But I want to end by stressing what Catherine earlier said. There's been pockets of progress, and yet we need sustained action. And being here on the government panel, we can say that collaboration works when we consciously do it and we keep sharing those. Let me thank you so much, Mrs. Abna Nobiasar, head of the Human Trafficking Secretariat at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Mr. Abna Dufia Konuata, head of Monitoring and Evaluation at the Department of Social Welfare, and Mr. Frank Kweku Kumi, Superintendent of Immigration, together with Mr. William Ayariga, head of the Anti-Trafficking Unit of the Ghana Police Service. We really appreciate your input.
And thank you very much, Kingsley Obinchre, with the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation for expertly moderating this session. Please step forward like beauty contestants for a photo. Let's make it, we'll have you here. And then he's at the end. This way, switch, please switch for me. Yes. Yeah, that works. Okay.